studio this morning.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
My
Good
joy.
morning, viewers.
I can't help it. I mean, the cloth, the hair, the makeup, everything just came together beautifully.
Thank you.
You should tell me who your stylist is,
Thank
really.
you.
I should pay her here on a visit.
Maybe we'll talk about that later.
Absolutely. So
Thank
you
you.
listened to this, the introduction I gave about, and it's a true life story. I met with the mother and she was comparing her first daughter to her other kids, and she was like, she's stunted this way because the child is actually petite, but the rest are all grown, very tall, robust kids. And she was like, because I left this child very early in the secondary school and they weren't feeding her so well. She had nutritional issues and she got this, stunted petite. So she was feeling really bad. And I was trying to tell her, maybe it's genetics. And she said, no. She's sure it's not genetics now. Given your experience, as a dietitian and nutritionist, do you think childhood malnutrition came into play in this issue?
It's most likely yes. I will say yes, because you know that when you talk about childhood nutrition, people don't really take it serious.
Seriously?
Yes, they don't really take it serious, because that child must have gone into secondary school in a boarding school maybe at the age of 10 or 11.
Yes.
She's still a child. That child should still be under her parental care. But because of our quest to make sure that our children get into secondary school at the age of 10, graduate by 15 or 16, get into the university. So most times we forget that children are different. There are kids that you could send to that place, they'll be able to grab the food. They'll be able to survive. While there are some that can't survive in such an environment. Maybe she will just take her own provisions and she's done with it. There are kids that you need to be talking to for them to eat well. There are kids you need to persuade to do what they are supposed to do. At 10, that child needs motherly attention. That child shouldn't be in a boarding school. But the way things, I know those days when we were younger, they said in boarding school they used to give them food, they eat, they used to give them attention. When the teacher is talking, you are listening, and sometimes you still notice that the seniors tend to take the food from the juniors.
That's the major issue.
Yes, they tend to take the food and intimidate them into not talking. If it's a child that is calm or quiet, the child might not be able to say it out. She will not be holding it to her heart and be going hungry. And automatically it might be affecting her academic performance.
Sure.
Good
Absolutely.
nutrition.
Absolutely. You said something very instructive. You said people don't take childhood nutrition seriously.
Yes.
Walk us through it. What is childhood or pediatric nutrition, and why does it really matter?
Yes, an important question that we normally neglect. When we talk about nutrition generally, is the science that has to relate with the food nutrients we eat, the food substances, other ones we eat, the way it digests, the way the body assimilates it, the catabolism, even excretion.
Catabolism means?
The way the body burns down.
Because I'll need you to break down all the technical words.
I will come down, So breaking down the food nutrients, how the body takes it, how the energy is being expended. So most times, because that is what nutrition is about, pediatric nutrition, how do you give the child healthy diet during that childhood period? That's the pediatric nutrition. Healthy diet that suits that age. Because we all prepare food, but there are some that are good for this age, there are some that are good for this age. Just like in adulthood, you tell somebody at this age you reduce this, at this age the same thing applies to children. There are foods they are supposed to consume at certain age, and there are some they are not supposed to consume. Now, we have a lot of malnutrition in under 5. Why? We missed it from breastfeeding. It's been a long time. Breastfeeding has always been there, but how do we practice it? Do we do it in the right way? Or do we just
What's the right way of breastfeeding? Okay,
fine. The right way of breastfeeding starts from the mother. Once the child is delivered, 1 hour within delivery, the baby should be put to breast. Because once the baby starts suckling, the body tells the brain, there is a job we need to do. Then they start working on the oxytocin that helps the breast milk to start flowing. So within 2-3 hours of child delivery, the breasts have started flowing. Now, when the breast starts flowing, the child is supposed to be on exclusive breastfeeding for 6 months without water, because it is full package. Breast milk is full package at that point. So that's what the child needs. But most times we don't do it. somebody will come up and tell you, why don't you give water? A child, they want they want to bring in all those olden days stories to make you give water. But when you give water, it takes up the space where the breast milk should be.
What if you give water after breastfeeding?
No. It should be breast milk alone, because breast milk is 90% water. That's why it's flowing. It's fluid. That's why it's flowing. If you express breast milk and put in a bottle, leave it for 1 hour, you will see it will segment. You will see the quantity of water in it. You will see the other nutrients, like the fat, the way it will separate on its own. You notice that you have enough water. And the children, they don't even ask you for, it's what you give your child that the child requests for. If at that point you start giving pap, the child will start taking pap. If you start giving milk, because at that point the child doesn't know what is water. He doesn't know what is pap. He doesn't know what is cereal. It's what you give the child that the child will take. If you give birth and put up artificial bottle, the child will start taking it, because that's what he meant. A child born in Nigeria will automatically meet eba, soup, rice. A child born outside will start seeing broccoli, some of these vegetables that we don't have around here. So whatever you feed your child is what your child accepts. So giving breast milk alone is the best for that first 6 months, because everything that the child needs is in it.
Yeah, it's really interesting that we are starting with breastfeeding,
yes,
right?
That's
we are
where
talking
you should
pediatric,
start. Yes,
nutrition. Now, there are some mothers that will tell you, oh, we have tried, but I'm not able to express as much, and this child is so demanding. Or for mothers who have twins, triplets, how are they supposed to cope with breastfeeding?
Yes. That starts with attending antenatal clinics.
Good.
Most of these ladies do not attend antenatal clinic. I work in a hospital. I see their time. They come in around 10, 11. When the lectures has been done, the nutrition talk is being done, the physiotherapists come to give talk, the pharmacists, they come to give talk. And by the time they must have finished giving talk, that person comes in with her khaki, swinging her khaki or wearing beautiful dress, coming in thinking that thinking that the most important thing is to see the doctor. But the important thing starts from the talk that the doctors and the nurses and other health professionals give before you now see the doctor. The doctor doesn't have time to be counseling all of you one by one on all the things you need to do. So when you miss it during antenatal, you won't know that there are things you need to do for the breast milk to flow.
So what are those things? Walk us through those
like
things.
Massaging the breast before birth, before delivery. There are some things you are supposed to do. The nurses handle that very well. They do it. How you need to massage it. They teach you how to attach the baby to breast. They teach you sitting position during breastfeeding. All these things are being done during that time. What you are supposed to eat before and after childbirth. The exercise you are supposed to do. The whole encompassing should be taught before that time. So when you now give birth, there is no reason for the breast not to flow, except there is a medical reason. Except medical reason, which is rare. But most times, because they don't know how to do it, when the person comes to the hospital and you teach her or you assist her in placing the baby properly, how to allow the baby to latch very well around the areola, not just the nipple, by the time you finish assisting her, you see the breast milk flowing, making her to relax. Because when the person is not relaxed, the breast milk will not flow.
Okay, so let's talk about the few that may have inherent medical issues or hormonal issues whereby the breast does not flow. Assuming that mother is listening to you right now.
Yes.
What would you advise she does?
She needs to go and see her doctor. She needs to go and see her doctor, especially if it is the first child. Okay. She needs to see her doctor so that they will discuss and know the next step to take, whether the baby should be on infant formula or if there's any other thing that can be done to that.
Under strict
But
surveillance.
it is always rare.
All right,
less than 1%.
Really?
Less than 1%. So that's what to tell you that most times it is the women
that really
and the men too, because when you are stressed up in the family, of course, stress can affect it. It's not about size. It's just the state of the mind and knowing what to do and doing it at the right time. Okay,
so there's this school of thought that says if your breasts as a nursing mother, if the milk is not flowing, right, you could, I'm thinking it's an old wives' tale, right? You could take the palm wine, traditional palm wine, and there are some other things, right?
Yes.
So could you help us debunk some of those myths?
Okay. One, you know that those days, because of the color of palm wine, because of the color of palm wine, it has same color with breast milk. So they feel if you take it, it will make the breast flow. And there are some contents in that breast milk actually that helps the breast milk to flow.
Content in the palm wine.
In the palm wine. What is it? The water. It's fluid, so it flows. All the woman requires is fluid. Fluid in form of pap, fluid in form of odor, fluid in form of nsala, in the fluid form. That's what she requires for the breast milk to flow. Then the palm wine has relaxation effect.
Okay, so it makes the stress
so,
level.
Yes, just like alcohol. What alcohol does after taking it, it makes you feel relaxed and stuff like. So the mother sleeps off, the child sleeps off. And then it looks as if the palm wine is working, but it's not really working like that. Remember that the quantity of alcohol you consume can be transferred to the child through breast milk. If you take 80%, then the child is getting almost 70% from it. So you are transferring virtually enough quantity of alcohol to it. So when the child finishes taking the alcohol or naba, you that took the palm wine will sleep off. So two of you are now resting and saying, only but it's not right. You understand me? So when it comes to that palm wine, what I tell my people is that you consider the advantage and the disadvantage. The alcohol content of that palm wine is not good for the child. So why give it to the child? Because it gives you that relaxation effect. You can relax. You can do any other thing to get yourself relaxed and then make sure your child doesn't start from birth to consume that alcohol. Remember, the liver is involved. But because we don't know, we think it's the right thing. People in abroad that don't have access to palm wine, who gives them the palm wine that they drink? Is it not fluid? It's fluid that they take.
Makes sense.
Yes. You know, people in the north, where palm wine is not their thing, what do they take? Is it not their kunu? Which is in fluid form.
Let's talk about nursing mothers, that's working class women.
Okay.
And they tend to, there's this pumping machine that they use to express milk and keep in the fridge.
Yes.
Walk us through that process. Does it reduce the potency or the amount of nutrients in the breast milk to express and to keep? I mean, is it advisable?
Yes,
that should be the question.
For a working class mother.
So just put us through it and tell us,
yes,
okay, these are the best practices when you're expressing and storing milk.
Yes. If the person is a working class mother and you want to do exclusive or you want to ensure that your child is on breast milk all through the required time, you can express. When you express, you want to have extra for the child to take in your absence. So when you express and put in a bottle, in a jar, you can put it in the refrigerator. It can stay for 4 hours.
But not the freezer, just
you can put in the freezer. But because the child is going to take it within that period that you are not around, you don't need to put it in the freezer.
Okay.
If it is for some days, you can do
Please
that.
hold that thought. There's something that came to my mind. So assuming, okay, I'm a caregiver. You're the mother. You expressed you've left, and I need to feed the child a bottle of breast milk. How do I get it warm? Or do I just feed it to the child, you know, in that cold state?
What you do is that before the mother leaves the house, she must have breastfed the child. So the child is okay now. And she leaves some. So since the breast milk can stay 4 hours without refrigerator, you don't need to put it in the refrigerator. So you can put it in a bowl of water, just drop it in. It will be in room temperature. When the child needs another one again, you from there give. So once you give her that one, you bring out another one, assuming she has like 2 bottles. So the first one is there. So, and you know that when you breastfeed a child properly, she is bound to stay 3-4 hours without coming for food. If the child is well fed, then the next 3-4 hours again, you bring out another bottle. From there, you feed the child. So before you are finishing that one, you bring out another one again, put in a bowl, assuming you kept it in the fridge, put it in a bowl so that it will be defrosting. So by the time the child is hungry again, you see that that one is already in a room temperature state, you can now use and feed the child. So it is expected that within 6 hours, the mother should be back as a nursing mother. Yes, as a nursing mother, she should be back within that time. And when she comes back, she should put the child to breast.
Back to suckle.
Yes.
All right. We're still under 1 year.
Yes, we are still under 6 months. We are still
under 6 months. Yes. We'll progress gradually.
Yes.
Right? We'll progress. So with the rising costs of everything, child formula, assuming this is a mother who is not able to express for some reasons, or even sadly some mothers who passed away, and not able to, breastfeed the kids, what are the closest supplements? Not in terms of cost now. What are the supplements that are closest to the constituency of a breast milk that you could say, okay, this is the best for this child, given the fact that he or she cannot be breastfed at the moment?
That's why we go into infant formula.
Okay.
With the direction of a health professional.
What kind of health professional? A dietitian?
A dietitian, a nurse, and a doctor that has been trained on child feeding.
Okay.
If somebody that has been trained on child feeding can assist you, because you have a formula. 1 scoop is to so and so quantity of water and stuff. So how you mix it so that you don't over dilute it or under dilute it, because due to the cost of things, most mothers do dilute. What the experience we are having from the hospital, you see that they underdilute the formula and give the child. But when you ask them, they tell you, we give them milk. I give my baby milk. How many times? 4 times. But when you calculate it, you find out that the quantity she gave 4 times is what the child should take in 2 times or once or twice.
Wow.
So for that kind of person, they need to meet the right person that will assist them on how to do it, and they do it properly.
Now we're talking about
formula. That's the only option.
We're talking about a family who is at least a little bit well-to-do. Okay. There are still others down the wrong.
Yes.
All right. What's the lowest hanging fruit for a family that has a newborn and not able to afford these formulas? Even if they met a doctor, they are not able to.
Breast milk. There is nothing like breast milk.
I know, but this is not an ideal situation now.
Where there is no mother,
and the child has to eat. Yes.
Yes, they go back to infant formula. There is nothing.
And they don't have the ability or the financial strength to carry, formula.
That's where the problem comes in. The situation in the country has made it that things are not as easy as it should be. You see, the child at that point doesn't have some enzymes to digest that food we think we can give to them.
Okay, can I just come in a little bit? Because we have cereals, we have sorghum, we have wheat, we have all these things. So, growing up, there's this one, they call it joro.
Yes.
So can these local cereals be, brought together to, bring up something that is close to what the child can feed on, given the fact that there's no breast milk?
You just be managing it and be watching the child for malnutrition. You just have to be managing and be watching out for malnutrition. That means you need to be under proper monitoring, because at that time, that pap, the child doesn't need it at that early stage. At that early stage, the child doesn't need it. It should come in from 6 months. That's the thing about it. So that's why we need to be careful in what we are doing.
Is there a possibility where you can get a nursing mother to feed the child?
Some people do that, but because of our culture, they don't want to come out to do it. But I know that there are people that are like surrogate mothers. You can meet them and they express and give you. I have seen friends that assisted the other one, in expressing. She had her own child and the other one, so she will express like few bottles and then give them so her child takes directly from the breast. So it's a difficult situation where you're very delicate, where you have to start at birth to give that child pap. Malnutrition is very close.
Before we get to the nutrition of kids that are between 1 to 5, what's the best way of winning a child from breast milk? Because I remember my daughter, I don't know. The child just refused to stop breast milk. In fact, they told me, okay, get bitter leaf, rub it around the area. She did? She just stopped. No, she did the first one, threw it away, did the second one, looked at me one kind, threw it away. went on and continued
what she was
so
doing.
what's the best way of weaning a child? The healthiest way of weaning a child?
Okay, let me start from complementary feeding. So after the 6 months of breast milk, of exclusive breastfeeding, you move into timely complementary feeding.
What does that mean?
At the right time, immediately the child is 6 months, you start introducing
cereals.
Yes, cereals.
Okay.
Natural. If you cannot do that, you start introducing that. So you are breastfeeding alongside with the complementary feeding. So by the time the child gets to like 9-10 months, you now start introducing family food. Gradually, but the major one is this.
What kinds?
Family
you can't
food.
just introduce fufu.
No, no. At that point, you start giving mashed food, porridge, puree, vegetables, fruits, plantain, those small ones, fried plantain or boiled plantain, the one that is easy to chew, not yam that is difficult to, that kind of thing. So porridge and stuff like that, you start introducing it to this. So she's now combining both. As she's getting older, she's letting go the breast milk. She's depending
like
more on
substitution reaction.
Yes. So gradually you do that, then the baby you can now gradually wean off. But you remember that breast milk is supposed to be given till 2 years. But because of the way things are going, or what is in we women, what is in our head these days now, we think it's just for 1 year. If the child, you are supposed to continue breastfeeding until the child says no. Once she stops suckling, it will stop flowing. That's why they tell you to wean her off, because once she stops suckling, the thing stops automatically. So you can gradually find a way of doing it gradually until the child stops on her own. When she starts getting busy, you see that they go out or maybe to crèche or wherever. When they come back, they eat whatever is available. Until you come back in the evening, they will come for it. So starting from taking it in the evening till night, and gradually they will let go. So you can as well express, if you can still express at that time, express and keep, another person will feed, so that the attachment will stop gradually, you know, so that you can now wean the child off. As they are going, it gets to a point they want to say no.
Great, that's
you
true.
Know?
That's true.
At a point they will say no on their own. Yes.
All right, so you mentioned something interesting. You said that for kids who probably their mothers passed away, that when you're giving them all these cereals or maybe local cereals, you'll be monitoring them, watching out for any sign of malnutrition. So what are the signs to show, early signs now, not presenting when it's really bad, the early signs to show that, this child is probably malnourished. I should do something about it.
Yes, so they need to go for immunization. They need to go to hospital visits, you know, because during immunization, there's the chart they give them, growth chart. So once they go, they will weigh the child, write it down. Each time they come, they keep weighing the child and seeing the growth chart, whether it is growing the way it should. If it's growing the way it should, there is no cause for alarm. But if it is not, the nurse should alert the doctor that this thing is not growing the way it should. Look at the weight. A child, if the child is, assuming the child is supposed to be adding 0.5 kg per week, and you see that it is 0.2 or 0.3, they should alert the doctor, who will now find a way of counseling them, or the dietitian around. If they have a dietitian in their place, the dietitian around, they should talk to her so that they find a way of changing the diet, the way it is being given, because sometimes preparation comes in, is a problem, the way we prepare the food. In our head, we think we are doing the right thing, but we are not doing the right thing. Then, in another way, the food taboos, the child is not supposed to take this or that. They won't add sugar that is real. So they need the assistance of a dietitian who will now guide them on how to prepare and what should be prepared, added to the food to give the baby. It will help. So they keep going to the hospital. Once they notice that stagnation in it, they should alert the proper health person. Yes.
All right, tell us about this, because I've seen it a couple of times. Sunken head. I think it's called fontanelle or something. Yes. Does it have anything to do with nutrition?
No.
Okay.
No.
So it's totally different.
It's natural.
Okay. Really?
It comes in, yes.
What's that Igbo word for it?
Ntibo isi or something like Ntiwa isi or so.
So it's not a problem.
It will gradually close up. It's just like having a gap.
So it's not dehydration, it's not nutritional
deficiency.
No,
it's not.
Okay.
It's just a gap. between the two bones around the skull.
That's closing up.
Yes, so as the child is growing, some people are faster, some are slower. So as they are growing, the thing keeps coming up until it closes together. That line we normally have in that. Yes, that's the thing. It has nothing to do with that. But you know, our people, once they notice it, they say that they will get something and cover it up. You know,
herbs,
so especially herbs. You know, they keep covering. They will get cap. Cover the head and tell you now if anything happens that the child will die or something like that. Gradually it will cover up.
Okay, great.
It will cover up. Some people's own takes time, while some are faster.
All right, so let's move away from the infants. Let's talk about the ones between 1 and 5 years of age. How do you handle picky eaters?
Okay.
Because I know a lot of mothers. In fact, let me tell you this true life story. To get her son to eat, she bought this mats made of how do I even Dunlop?
Yes, that normal
mats. Yes, the ones
with
that
design.
are colorful.
Yes.
And she have to cook. Then it was just Indomie the child liked. So the child doesn't like to eat from a plate, so she would drop it on the colorful mats, and the child would just go grab it and eat. How do you deal with picky eaters?
You know that thing. Mothers contribute a lot to picky
how
eating.
So?
Number one, the noodles are off the track.
I agree with you 100%.
Noodles shouldn't even be coming in. It makes us to be lazy, and in that,
it's the nutritional.
It's zero. It's zero. It shouldn't even come in. If that child why don't we use fried plantain to do it? Then drop the fried plantain. Let him be picking it. By the time he takes 5 or 6, he will get what he wants. Why don't we keep meat or fish on that mat for the child?
But then it's the experiment for me. You know what?
That's
she had
the
to
thing
go
is that
to find one way that the child would enjoy eating.
She needs to make out time. When they are smaller, I keep saying what you introduce your child to is what the child eats. If the child says he doesn't want to eat this, what is the reason for not eating it? Is there any medical issue? Is there any allergy? Why would the child totally say he doesn't want to eat food?
Please walk us through like a short algorithm. I'm a mother. My child is a year, 2 years. My child is a picky eater. I notice he or she doesn't like to eat. Tell me, what's the first thing I need to do? Second thing I need to do? Third thing I need to do?
First of all, when you are introducing food to the child from the complementary to the normal family food, when a child sees you eating rice, the child wants to eat rice. Every child does that. Wants to come and pick from your own and eat. So as you are eating, you are feeding the child. This child knows that we eat this thing is a food that we eat. Gradually they will come. Maybe the quantity they consume is small, but they eat the food. So if that child eats small quantity, then you give her frequent but small. That is it. Every 2 hours. You give something every 2 hours, you give something every 2 hours, you give something. So if you take the child to school, you go and meet the person in charge. This child does not eat large quantity at a time. So please, can you help with so and so? The teacher will help you in doing that because you know that this child doesn't eat enough quantity at a time. There's no way the child will not eat anything at all. There is something this child likes. That thing that he likes, then we'll find a way through that thing. So we have to start early to make them know that they don't have option. Yes, they should know. Not to come and ask a small child of 3 years, what do you want to eat, baby? Sweetie, what do you want to eat? Yeah, the baby will say Indomie. Or any other type of, that kind of pasta.
It's not open to discussion.
No, it shouldn't. At that time, it's not open for discussion. Until the child gets to a point where you now say, why don't you want to eat this? What is wrong with you? You will now say, when I take beans, my tummy does. You will know that there is a medical issue. There is something wrong with that food and the child. But not when the child is still very small that cannot even take decision on what he or she. Why would the child say he doesn't want to take orange, he doesn't want pawpaw, he doesn't want any other type of fruit. He doesn't want to take fruit at all, pear and stuff like that. It's a problem now. The child must like one because we need those vitamins. We need it for the child to grow.
Talking about vitamins, my mind went to medication because there's this school of thought that says if the child is a picky eater, you can buy multivitamins to boost the child's appetite. Does that really work? Is it a myth? And if it does, what's the best way of,
I keep saying the mothers, we are too lazy to give our children attention. I keep saying it. Some of them might not really like it, but I keep saying
that's the truth.
That's the truth. We don't really have time for them.
No, we see it reflecting in the society. It's not just about nutrition.
There is peer in the market. Why buy the multivitamin? Is it not natural? We have the natural ones around us. So you can share it. Today you give orange. Today you give pear. That pear, you can mash it and add into pap and give a child during complementary feeding, so that the child gets some, they start getting accustomed to some of these tastes, so that as they are growing, it won't be a new thing to them. But when we give them the opportunity, I don't know, how do I put it? You know, this Western has told us that the child has rights, but as the child has the right, you should also understand that
to the extent that it's
detrimental to them. You understand? You come, you say they don't like this, but when you come to the hospital, they will feed the child that thing you say the child doesn't eat, and the child will eat it. And sometimes what they give the child. You know, I've seen somebody, I keep saying it wherever I go, that mixed pap with crayfish. Because they are looking for protein. If you go home and test it yourself, you see as an adult you cannot eat it. But you give it to your child. The child will refuse to eat that food. He will be eating it under duress because you are forcing him to eat it.
Talking about duress,
that is it.
There are some mothers that threaten their kids.
You must eat food. You must do this.
How does that really work out?
I don't know how they do it in their own, but I know that there is a way you talk to your child. There is this relationship you have with your child. The child will know you have to eat. Mommy will not be happy if you don't eat this. You can even tell him, you are not my friend if you don't eat too. The child will run back and go and eat. It's what you eat. As an adult now, if you bring food now from maybe the north, something I've not eaten before, you know it will not be easy for me to start eating it. So it has to be something you do gradually. 1 spoon, the child will taste, run out, come back. Another time, you keep gradually introducing food to them. You don't batch the child with food. It has to come one after the other. That's why when you finish this one, you see that this child has gotten accustomed to this. You said, okay, you bring in another one. Until you find out the one that you will give that is not good for the child. You can say, okay, whenever he takes this one, it doesn't go down well with him. You yourself will know that I shouldn't be giving him this pap or this wheat or this pear or carrot. It doesn't go down well. Whenever he takes it, this one happens. So you'll be able to know what is good for the child. So when the child is saying, I don't want this, you know the reason why he doesn't want it. Gradual introduction to the food is the best option. There is nobody that will not, either you like beans or you like fiofio. Either you like fiofio or you like PGP. There must be a particular food that you like.
The work there is in the mother, to have the time. Particular food that the child actually loves.
Because most times it's the caregiver that takes care of our babies.
True.
You leave the house by 7 to come back by 5. Between 7 and 5, another person is in charge. There is no way the person will take care of that child
the way you can.
There is no way.
Let's talk about children with special needs.
So, yes.
For example, maybe an autistic child. You know how they can switch on and switch off.
Yes.
What's your advice? Maybe to a mother who has an autistic child and has issues feeding the child. There are other issues, a whole lot, but with feeding, as it comes to feeding, what are the nuggets you can drop to enhance the child's nutrition?
Mothers having time. Because most times they have mood swing.
All the time.
So now he's happy, the next time he's not happy, the other one is. So at that good moment, you use that opportunity to feed him. You know what he likes. So that time that he's happy, you try to give him those ones. They are the ones that need to be talked into eating and stuff like that. Those ones he likes. You can if you eat this one, mommy will be happy. You find a way of talking them into eating it because they need to do it. So, and they need a lot of trials, because that's when you start talking about blending food for them to know the texture they like. If you blend the food and they like it, that means you have to go through blenderized diet to get to a reasonable nutrient consistent that they like and the quantity kilocalorie that their body requires. If they like it fried, you find out that when I fry food, that this child likes it more. You give the child. So you try to experiment a lot to know what that child likes, and then you have time to know. And then whoever that should be the caregiver should also be trained you speak to their conscience, because you can even train and the person will not want to do it.
True.
Speaking to the conscience, so that the person will know that this child needs so and so.
All right.
So I think they need more time.
All right,
than the
Chizoba,
other ones.
before we let you go, because the way you're speaking, I can listen to you all day. But before we go, because we're running out of time,
Okay.
tell us, in this harsh economic situation, I'm a mother, I have 4 kids in the house, all within 17, puberty, adolescents, you know, please, in this
Where one
harsh
person takes a loaf of bread.
please, exactly, when they have very multiplying body cells and they are eating to compensate. What would you advise, you know, a mother, family, parents to, how would you advise them to boost the nutrition of their children given the harsh economic situation?
I think we need
You could mention foodstuff that
yes.
easily,
I think we need to go
very
back
quickly
to agriculture. Agriculture. The ones they do in bag. If you have space in your compound, you can do something so that we will have constant vegetables.
Right. Vegetables.
Growing child requires iron.
Vegetables, iron. Good.
From little time till that time, whenever we need that iron. So the vegetables in the compound can assist.
Absolutely.
It comes in handy. So that you don't go without vegetables.
So whatever it is you cook, make sure that there's a dash of vegetable
there's a lot of vegetables. Then we'll reduce the oil intake. The fat intake.
You know what? I think I'll bring you back to the studio to continue this discussion, but I just have to let you go right now. Thank you so much, Chizoba, for coming. And I must say again, you look absolutely stunning. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much
me, my darling.
to you for still staying with us up until now. Don't go anywhere. Signature Television New Day continues. Stay with us.